Hey guys, Synthetic here, and as you can see we are back now for a series where we try to win the Drivers' World title with Ricciardo, despite starting every race from the back of the grid. And as you saw, we were able to win the race in Australia, which was quite lucky. The safety car helped us quite a bit there, and yeah, we tried to create a little bit of a gap now in this race as well, because there will be tracks where overtaking will be very difficult. And yeah, here we are now for China, and you will see my strategy and my setup in just a second. And yeah, here we are now. If you're looking at the race director, it says that there will be rain in the race as well, which should make things quite interesting. But first of all, we opted to go with a little bit more fuel because we want to be able to attack. And here you can see my setup. It's also the setup I used in AOR. It gives me a lot of stability, especially in on-worn tires, which is quite important around here. And in terms of strategy, I wasn't too sure. As you can see, we opted to start on the softs, simply because we want to be flexible, and in rain conditions it will be also an advantage. So yeah, let's see whether it will help us. And yeah, now we are going for the race. Again, we will skip the formation lap because it's not that interesting. And again, this time my plan was to be very cautious, especially in the first turns. Using different lines could also help, because I wanted to avoid contact or things that could destroy my wing. And yeah, here we are now, making our way to the grid, and let's see what kind of start we'll get, and yeah, how many positions we are able to gain in the first few laps. Here we are now, and we have 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. And let's see what kind of start we get. Quite a decent, not perfect start, but at least we were able to make the first position up and try to go for the inside here. Try to use a different line, as I said, because I knew a lot of guys would block each other. So yeah, we were able to gain the first 2 positions, which is quite a solid start to the race. And we gain a couple more, or 3 people more in the next turn, as we dive a little bit up on the inside of Van Dorn. He's still on our inside, so we have to give him a little bit of room, and we even touch tires a little bit. But the next turn is a right-hander, so we should be able to make the move stick. But here you can see we ran a little bit wide, so we have to defend a little bit on the inside, and we were able to make the position stick, which gives us P15. And now up onto lap 2, we have quite a lot of cars ahead of us, so yeah, we have to think of a clever strategy to get past. And here we opted to go for the outside of Massa, which gives us the inside on the next turn, but we weren't quite able to make the move stick. So let's see whether we can move up another split in this corner, and we should be able to. And yeah, another position gained. Next up is Alonso, who's in a McLaren Honda, and yeah, he should be quite weak on the straights. So let's see what we can do here. We try to get a decent run out of the long sweeping right-hander, and we put it up into Rich Mix to have the maximum straight lane speed. And look at the difference we have over him, and yeah, we are able to make the position stick quite easily. And here you can see we have the first drops of rain already, which shows us that the rain will probably very rain affected, and it should also help us quite a lot, because the tires, the softs we are on should work quite a bit better compared to the super softs from the guys in front. And yeah, hopefully that will give us an advantage. And next up ahead is Kvyat, so we try to get decent run through the first turns, and we were able to make the stick, the position stick quite easily. And yeah, next up ahead is Magnussen. Has a little bit of a gap, but I'm sure we can close it down quite rapidly, especially since it's now raining more and more with every following lap. And again, we have to be very patient on the throttle, because you don't want to run wide, which would compromise your run on the straight. And here you can see we were able to get very close to him, and we have still DRS, which means that our tires, our slicks are still the faster compound, and we make a little bit of a dive into his inside, and yeah, we are able to make the move stick already into P11. And next up ahead is Ocon, who went a little bit defensive in the last turn, which gives us a run on him, and we are able to make another position stick. Next up ahead is Carlos Sainz, and as you can see, the conditions get worse and worse. We have quite a lot of understeer now, and yeah, wet tires shouldn't be too far away, but again, the softs would or should work quite a lot better, and yeah, we were able to out-traction him quite easily, and yeah, we are up another spot into P9 now. And next up ahead is Grosjean, so we try to get as fast as we can possible to him, but here you can hear my engineers telling me that we have a strategy change onto intermediates, and yeah, which means that at this point the softs aren't the quickest tires anymore. And here you can see Grosjean had a bad run out of the last corner, which gave us a run, but he was basically blocking our way, so nothing we could have done there. But here we tried to get a little bit of a better move and a tighter line. Again, very cautious on the throttle, because yeah, you can get quite easily oversteer, and yeah, we managed to avoid that quite easily. And now at the end of the lap, we decided to go into the pits for intermediates. You can see we ran a little bit wide into the hairpin, and look at the traction we got compared to the guys on Super Soft. It's quite insane. But here you saw my teammate already is into the pits, which means that we will get held up, and yeah, should make things quite interesting for the race, because now we have quite a big task ahead of us. And yeah, it's quite unfortunate that we got held here, but it would be a mistake to stay out another lap. And again, we got held, which is very unfortunate, but yeah, it's the problem when we're starting from the back. But that's the goal of this season, and I think that will make the season very funny and very entertaining as well. And now we are back here out of the pits. We have Hulkenberg ahead, who has quite a little bit of a gap. So let's see what we can do there. And at the end of the lap, you can see that there's a little bit groove forming on the front, and this was basically because a few people stayed out on the soft tires because they didn't want to get held up in the pits, and that was the result. I think one of the Saubers spun Nico right in front of us, which gives us another position, and you can see a lot of guys were in the pits, which gave us, I think, a few positions as well. So we are up into P6 now, which is also quite a solid start if you consider we are just in lap 6. And next up ahead is our teammate Verstappen, so it should be a little bit more difficult to get him since he's in the same car as we are. And yeah, let's see how our setup will work in the race as well. It should work because yeah, we used a lower ballast, which is also an advantage in the rain. So yeah, let's see what we can do. You can see the gap is, I think, 2.2 seconds, and we're able to close him down quite rapidly. I think 7 or 8 tenths a lap, which is quite solid pace. And here we are now. we're getting closer. I noticed especially in this area we win quite a bit of time because our setup is working here quite well. And let's see whether we are able to get closer on the straight. It seems like Verstappen is just a little bit too far away for a dive, so we have to be patient and wait on a better situation to overtake. And you can see we are now much closer compared to the straight. The exit wasn't perfect, but you can see we had a quite decent run on him and he went defensive, but there was not much he could do there. But here you can see he was still on our inside, so we have to leave him with just a little bit of space. And we also stay in higher gears to stay around the outside, and we also block the inside so he can't get any kind of switchback. And yeah, we are now in P5, and at this point I was not completely sure what my strategy for the rest of the race would be, because it would be very hard to take the intermediates till the end, because yeah, we would be in quite a danger for getting a puncture if we don't do another stop. So yeah, we have to see how that goes. And here you can see we are behind Bottas, and we were able to close him by just about, I think, a few tenths a lap. And yeah, now in lap I think 16 it was, we were able to be very close behind him. And he also fought with Kimi Räikkönen, who I think had a problem. The engineer told me that a little bit earlier, and yeah, now we are all over the back of those two, and let's try if we can make anything happen. Try to get a very decent run out of the sweeping left-hander, and look at the traction we got. It was quite solid, and we immediately tried to block the inside, but you can see we broke a little bit too late and locked up, which cost us a little bit of time. But at the end it was not too major. We were able to defend the position ahead of Räikkönen, and next up ahead is now Bottas. But at this point I think some of the guys already did a second pit stop. I think Lewis Hamilton he already stopped for new intermediates, and Mai was feeling quite well. Tire wear wasn't that good, but it was enough to keep the tires alive, and my lap times weren't too bad either. So yeah, we are now behind Bottas, and we closed the gap down to a few tenths. So let's see what we can do on the straight. Probably will be very difficult because he's in the Mercedes and they are quite rapid on the straight line. And another possibility is he might go into the pits as well, because I think Lewis went into the pits earlier, and there's a possibility that he also might be pitting this lap. So our tire wear isn't too bad, and I think the smartest decision is to stay out, because on the race director at the beginning of the race you could see that at the end of the race it would be again dry. And yeah, I hope that we were able to switch again back to the drier compounds. And here we are now in lap 22, and the rain basically stopped. We already have a few dry parts on the track, and here you can hear now my engineer saying that there's an alternate strategy, and yeah, that we should switch tires to super softs at the end of the lap. So yeah, I think without the dry part at the end of the race it would be quite difficult to get the tires till the end, because they were also already quite worn. So, but again, we had quite a bit of luck on our side today, and we are now exiting the pits with quite a little bit of gap to the guys behind, because they already did a second stop, which was basically a wrong decision at the end. and we were very cautious out of the pits because there were still a few wet parts on the track and we didn't want to spin or anything like that. And now we have 6 laps remaining. We just have to bring it till the finish line, and we have to still to overtake a few guys who were on the wrong strategies, but it shouldn't be too difficult. The blue flags should help us here quite a bit. But I also knew that the cars behind would be very fast as well, because the AI is quite fast when it comes to driving with dry tires on wet situations or drying conditions. They're quite strong there. But the gap was at the end too much. They weren't able to close me down fast enough in order to really mount a challenge. So yeah, we were able to win our second Grand Prix in 2 races, which is quite lucky. But I think we might need this cushion we're building at the moment, because there will be tracks, like I said earlier, where overtaking will be quite tricky, and we also have to consider that we might get damage in some races, which should compromise our speed as well. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this series. It's quite a lot of fun to make, because fighting through the field and yeah, somehow win the race is quite some fun. And yeah, here you can see now my fastest lap. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I think it was decent, if you consider that the track still was a little bit wet. And here you can see I also asked Jeff, because I started to notice again a few raindrops, and later I found out that yeah, it started raining again in the last laps, which was also quite interesting. And yeah, at the end we were able to win the Grand Prix just ahead of Lewis Hamilton, which means our lead won't be that big, but still that makes now 2 out of 2, and let's hope that we can continue like this around the last corner. And yeah, that was basically the race in China. And we will also take a look at the final results in just a second. Here you can see we won the Grand Prix, and we have now just about a 14 gap to Lewis. And yeah, that was basically the race. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next race as well. Goodbye.